Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed panelists, our respected partners and colleagues, good afternoon. This is Raju Basak working with BRAC as a program manager. Welcome you to our session. The thematic area of our session is basically sanitation financing, and the title of our session is Financing for Climate Adaptive Sanitation in Bangladesh, Context, Challenges and Opportunities. BRAC is hosting this session. In this event, we are delighted to have Dr. Md Liakath Ali, Director, Climate Change Program, Urban Development Program, and Disaster Risk Management Program of BRAC as an event chair. We are very glad to have Mr. Hossain Ishrath Adib, Director, Altapur Graduation Program, Integrated Development Program, and WASH Program of BRAC as a keynote presenter. Along with him, Mr. M Khaleduzzaman, Senior Manager of BRAC, will also share some part of the keynote presentation, and I will also join in the some part of the keynote presentation. Now we would like to welcome our distinguished panelist. As an honorable panelist, we have Dr. Tanveer Ahmed, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, BUET. Mr. M Shafiqul Islam, former Additional Secretary, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Last but not the least, architect cum planner Salma Awal Shafi, urban specialist and honorary treasurer, Center for Urban Studies, Dhaka. Our objective for this event is multifaceted. The first objective is knowledge sharing. A keynote presentation will provide insights into the challenges and opportunities associated with sanitation financing in Bangladesh. The second objective is getting expert insights to discuss the financing trends, gaps, and potential solutions for scaling up climate-resilient sanitation investments. Last but not the least, the third objective is to explore necessary policy changes to support the microfinance-driven sanitation solutions and enhance financial accessibility for vulnerable community. The schedule for today's consultation is thoughtfully designed to encompass these goals. Now we should move forward for the keynote presentation, and for the keynote presentation, Mr. M Khaleduzzaman will start, then I will join, and later Mr. Hossain Ishrath Adib will also join. So I am requesting Mr. M Khaleduzzaman to start the keynote presentation. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Khaled, M Khaleduzzaman from BRAC WASH program, and I'm very happy to be here and present to this session. So, as you already know that the topic of our presentation is financing for climate adaptive sanitation in Bangladesh, context, challenges and opportunities. So right, as you all know that Bangladesh is one of the most vulnerable country of the world. Currently it is heading 31st position in terms of climate vulnerability. Previously it was 7th. So it haven't increased a bit in terms of its vulnerability. Rather, the other country have become more vulnerable. That's why our position is now 31%. And as you all know that just because of this climate vulnerability, we are facing a number of challenges throughout the country in terms of water security, in terms of livelihood, and other as well, security as well. And in recent years, we have experienced in 2020 to 2024, a number of climatic events, and which was not very much familiar for our country. And there are some events, flood like that, which we haven't experienced in last 15, 80 years actually. So, and as we all know that most of the people, vulnerable people, are living in some pocket areas, which we call actually climatic hotspot areas. And there are a number of hotspot areas from which we know that 1/3 of the people are living in the coastal belt areas, which is very prone to different kind of disaster, including cyclone. So, and in spite of all those things, in terms of the sanitation coverage, currently we have 44% of overall safely managed sanitation coverage, where we can see that 47% is in rural areas and 39% is in urban areas. So we are lacking behind of our intended target, which is SDG, which will have to be achieved by 2023. So our target is 100, but we are definitely lag behind. So if we want to see the trend of increasing the coverage in terms of safely managed sanitation coverage and other as well. So from 2020, we can easily see that we have increased, we could have managed to decrease the open defecation significantly. we have achieved our Millennium Development Goal very successfully. But when it is about the question of safely managed sanitation, yeah, we are very much lag behind and the achievement is very slow. We can see that in 2000, we were 18% of safely managed sanitation coverage, and 2022 it is 41%, and 2020, 41%, and 22 it is 44%. So by 2 years we could have managed to achieve only 2-3%, not more than that. So yeah, the pace is too much slow. And the financing, yes, that's the most important thing to achieve any such kind of goal, the financing. If we don't have that much financing, any kind of another efforts or different a cluster of efforts can't actually achieve the intended target. So we can see that the overall budget, national budget, public budget, was increasing actually over last couple of years in decades, but in recent 2 years we can see a decreasing trend. So that is the thing that was increasing in last decades, a couple of decades, but recent years is decreasing. And yeah. And if we want to see the allocation in the hard to reach areas, which we call actually the climate vulnerable areas mostly, that is more actually poor condition and in terms of climate vulnerability areas. So we can see that the shore, Haor, coastal belt, and hill tracks. So those areas actually getting a very minimal of the entire budget, a national allocated budget. And if we want to see the gap between the rural and urban areas, that is very much significant. I mean, just 1% of the total budget, urban budget, is allocating for the rural areas. And as we have already mentioned, that the most vulnerable areas is in the rural areas, the climate vulnerable areas. And interestingly, those areas is getting less budget to, and yes, that's very important that if we want to achieve 100%, we can't actually deny those areas. 1/3 of the people is living only in the coastal areas, and the scenario of the Haor, Chor, hill tracks, as we all know, very poor in terms of achieving the safety managed sanitation. But again, the allocated budget, public budget, is very minimal in those areas. So what's the climate scenario, current scenario of the financing in Bangladesh? So recently, one exercise has been run by the Ministry of Local Government, Rural Division and Cooperatives to see the national wash accounts, that the name was national accounts, to look into the expenditure of wash services in terms of out-of-pocket expenditure for the household as well as the total financial expenditure for wash services. Wash means water, sanitation, and hygiene. So that come up with some very interesting findings actually. So I would like to show a couple of those. So it has revealed that 2.1% of the GDP is allocating or expenditure is generating for the wash services, where for sanitation it is about 25%. Basic sanitation is 13.6%, and the pipe large network system, so sanitation network system, it is 12.2%, and the total expenditure is huge. Yeah. And that's also very interesting. That is also from the wash accounts, that the poorest people of the quintile is actually spending more for wash services. That's very interesting. I mean, the rich people are not actually spending more from out-of-pocket expenditure. From this table, we can see that the upper one is actually overall. So we can see that the richest quintile is spending 2.8% of their annual expenditure, 2.8%. Whereas the poorest is actually spending 7.8% of their annual income. So that's huge. Actually, when we are talking about the wash, so that is not all about constructing a latrine, having a latrine and providing water and maintaining sanitation as well. That has a clear-cut impact on their livelihood, lifestyle as well. When they are spending, someone are to spend a huge amount for wash services, definitely they will not be able to enjoy the other services just because they are to spend more for the water services. And we can see that 7.8% of the poorest people, 7.8% of the income of the poorest people is spending for the water services. And if we want to see the difference between rural situation and urban situation, we can see that the situation is in urban areas is more difficult, actually almost 3 times higher than the richest quartile. So that's very interesting findings, I would say. So yeah, average spending, water spending for household per household is about 11.5K, which is actually 4.3% of their household income, annual income. And for sanitation, they are spending about 2,000 BDT. And interestingly, for hygiene, they are to spend more, which is about 8,000. And the total out of pocket in wash was at 4.75 billion, which is about 79% of the wash spending in 2020. Yeah. So that is the overall situation that come up in terms of Bangladesh current context. That the national allocation and expenditure, that is also interesting. That the allocation is there, but we have already seen that the expenditure is not at that much. I have 10 taka, but I couldn't have managed to spend even 10 taka. So that is another challenges, and that is actually declining. The expenditure as well as the allocation of budget, national budget is declining, and yeah, required more to spend actually. Spend in not in terms of just I have 10 taka, I will spend 10 taka. 10 taka with quality, 10 taka in the specific areas actually which will make more impact, will contribute more in terms of ensuring the impact of water services. And yeah, the impact of the poorest quintile is huge, as definitely they are to manage their livelihood and other everything with a very limited budget. So when they are to spend more for the water services, definitely they can't enjoy the rest. So, and that is very disproportionately higher in terms of the richest one. And climate change, that's, we can't actually deny the impact of climate change, though a number of people, number of policymakers, number of government chief are actually denying the climate change. But that is, for us, that is the reality. So almost everywhere, the northern people are affected by the flood, and cyclone is very often for our country in the peripheral coastal areas. So we can't actually deny the impact of climate changes. So that is creating a more devastating situation, creating a hamper in terms of sustainability as well for the wash services. And very slow progress, very slow progress in terms of achieving the SDG target 6.2. In today morning, our Honorable Firoz sir also mentioned that for a country like us might not be able to achieve the SDG targets by 2030. So that is the reality. If we can be able to allocate a lot of money and also utilize that money, that could have been achieved, but definitely we don't have at that much money. Historically, self-supply remains the major source of wash financing. So yeah, we are to spend money from our own pocket. And so what is one of the solution to solve the out-of-pocket expenditure? So there is one slide where the amount of money that we want to have, we require to achieve our SDG 2 target. In addition to the current allocation, we need significant amount of money. For example, for 2025, we need 0.46 billion USD to achieve only the 6.6 SDG target. So that is the scenario. We need huge money for that. So I am stopping now. For the following slides will be presented by my colleague, Raju Basak. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled bhai, for inviting me. The first few slides, what we have seen so far, are mostly focusing on the household level data. But from our experience, what we have seen that in addition to household level data, sanitation promotion is also important for the community level, particularly when we talk about the low-income settlements or low-income community. And you know, in the low-income community, getting a suitable land is very difficult. So we need to go for the shared facilities. Uh, Another thing is that climate change is obvious, and we know the frequency of disaster and hazard is increasing in many folds in recent time in Bangladesh. So the scenario is that the BRAC adopts a approach, community-centering approach to identify, plan, and manage the sanitation facilities in the community level. The sanitation infrastructure that is deployed by BRAC is designed with the resilient and the gender responsive features, addressing the climate change adaptation measures by focusing on the eco-friendly construction features. So we are now going to our some learning from the community level sanitation intervention. If we see our first learning from our experience, that designing sanitation infrastructure considering climate change impacts enhance durability and resilience. And what we have did, we tried to synthesize our learning by asking two questions. One is why, another is how. The first question is why. Why it is important? Because you know the cyclone and flooding is very common in Bangladesh, and during the cyclone and flooding, there is a very common scenario is that the sanitation facilities become inundated. And at the same time, uninterrupted service for getting access to the sanitation facilities is very important for the all kinds of people, particularly for the women, children, and the disabled people. They are most vulnerable at that time. So what we did, how we have managed this. What we did, we tried to elevated the plinth and platform of the sanitation facilities by using the flood trend data, and we also tried to consider the highest flood level at the area. We tried to use the weather code painting for the durability of the facilities, and we also tried to use the anti-corrosive and saline tolerant materials like Vitalian and U we used as for the dam proofing material in the coastal belt. We also tried the solid art block instead of burnt brick block, and also tried to rainwater harvesting and solar operated pump for providing the running water service to the sanitation facilities. And if we see the first picture in the upper side of the slide, you know, in the May 2024 there was a catastrophic cyclone named Remal was happened in the Khulna and Borishal region. At that time, our toilet one in the Borishal region was functional because because we considered the highest flood level at that area, so the people can get access to the toilet during the Rimal also. In addition to community level toilet facilities, we also promote the inclusive public toilet in the public places, particularly for the pedestrian, floating people, and also for the city dweller. In the lower side picture, you can see a public toilet in Shatkira that has been built by BRAC. But the issue is that the user fee that is coming from the public toilet, in sometimes it is not adequate to manage the public toilet in hygienic way. So there is some sorts of financing gap. So city dwellers, so the city authority needs some money in their budget to manage this gap. So financing is also required in this case. If we see our second learning was prioritizing local needs and engaging the community from the outset, promotes effective use, foster ownership, and ensure sustainability. Why it is important? Because community in participation is very important from the planning to implementation in all stages. Because if the community is engaged with the planning process to implementation process, they can adopt some new innovation, and that reduces the cost. And at the same time, it can ensure the sustainability of the facilities and also enhances the satisfaction of the users. If we see the picture of the slide, it is a two-story toilet that has been built in the Soyedpur under Nilphamari district by BRAC. Initially, the community people was not happy with the multi-story toilet facilities. But what we make them motivated that if the toilet is the multi-storied, then many people can get access to sanitation facilities at a time. So in a urban slum, urban context, it is a very good option, and community becomes happy with that. And we also provided the grab rail and other facilities for providing good access to the disabled and other people. How it was done? We did series of consultation with the community people and the city authorities, And what we did also, we did the hazardous mapping exercise by participation of the community people. A community level operation and management committee was formed, and as a BRAC, what we did, the capacity of the operation management committee was also enhanced so that they can manage their toilet facilities or sanitation facilities by their own initiative and own cost. The third learning is that targeted and long-term behavior change interventions are crucial alongside infrastructure support to improve hygiene practices across the communities. Because in most of the WASH project, our focus is on constructing the new toilet facilities and other things. But the important thing is that behavior change is very important, because due to lack of awareness, people cannot maintain the toilet facilities in a proper way. Sometimes it hampers the sustainability of the toilet facilities as well. And at the same time, it is very common that behavior change can be made in one night. So there is a long-term and targeted intervention is required to promote the hygiene, promote hygiene at the community level. How it was ensured as a BRAC, since we have different types of groups in the community level, what we did, we organized different community awareness session by organizing courtier session, follow-up household visit, different campaign, and at the same time we also tried to promote the peer educators so that people can learn from one another, and that can be helpful for them. That was the last slide from my part. For the rest of the presentation, I would like to request Mr. Hossain Ishrath Adib. Please come.
Thank you, Raju. So this topic may sound a bit disjointed, where microfinance is coming from all of a sudden. So I did microfinance, so that doesn't necessarily mean that I need to bring microfinance into everything. So what we have seen so far, there is a clear gap between what is required in terms of financing for achieving our SDG targets in WASH, particularly sanitation, and public financing is going down. And for us to achieve the SDGs, we are lagging far behind. Some solutions also exist. And we have also seen that the dominant financing mechanism for WASH, even if not the most conducive one, is out-of-pocket expenditure. And the question is where this money is coming from. Now, is there a scope for microfinance in terms of WASH or sanitation financing? Now, this is the scenario of microfinance in Bangladesh as of 2023 June. There are 731 licensed microfinance institutions. Grameen Bank is MFI, but they have a specialized license. The government department agencies, 13 and 16 altogether. So that's kind of the landscape of microfinance. This is interesting. So far, 40% of total adult population in Bangladesh is currently financed by microfinance. They're covered. So the total number is 66 million plus. And if you look at the amount of loan, this is large enough, 28.62 billion. That's 1 year disbursement in terms of small loans. And at that point of time, that was end of 2023, the loan outstanding was 18.61 billion. But the most significant feature of microfinance, which is the most neglected and least understood, is the savings. To me, this is outstanding. As of 2023, the amount of deposits with the low-income communities with the microfinance system is 9.2 billion in US dollars. And to me, microfinance is one of the most resilient sector or instrument in whichever way you put. It survived COVID, it survived Remal, those natural calamities every year. It survived the devastating flood in the eastern part of Bangladesh, Noakhali, Kumilla, Feni, that area. Even it survived the uprising. If you remember the newspapers, on the newspapers, the banks have been struggling to give the depositors their money back. I don't remember seeing the news from the microfinance institutions struggling to actually give the deposits back to the client. Now, if you look at the required financing for sanitation, even WASH itself, and the amount which is available in terms of deposits, which the depositors withdraw at their will, this is significant. And the average loan size, that includes both group lending and individual lending, that's about 63,000. And if you look at the trend of the growth of microfinance portfolio, there is a steady growth between 2009, 19, 20, all the way to 2023. And as you can see, during the COVID period, it not only survived, it managed to grow moderately. And I was checking with my microfinance colleagues what was the situation in 2024. Starting from October as of now, the sector has started bouncing back. So this is kind of showing the resilience of this financial instrument. Now some proof whether microfinance can be used as an instrument to finance WASH, particularly sanitation. I have tried to capture information from basically 3 sources, starting with BRAC, of course, that's where I work. Since 2017, BRAC has provided 58,000 loans for sanitation purposes, amounting nearly 22 million, with an average loan size of 316. This is one organization alone. Looking at water.org since 2014, working through their 31 microfinance institutions as partners, they have provided 1.1 million sanitation loan. So it is exclusive of water. This is sanitation only. With a financing of 462 million on sanitation, with an average loan size of 355. PKSF, they have recently started a project in 2021 through 81, 87 MFIs, still continuing, provided 380,000 plus sanitation loan with an amount of nearly 100 million, again with a decent average loan size, which means there are certain mechanisms even in the absence of public financing, even in the situation of declining donor grants. People are actually making ways, and the institutions are also making ways. Now the question is whether we should be getting excited immediately with the prospects of microfinance having their capacity, so on and so forth. Because in Bangladesh, as you know, we have a tendency of finding something, jumping onto it, and many of the organizations would start doing that. And if we want to go into advocating for microfinance for WASH financing, there are 2 things we have to keep in mind very, very carefully. Number one, for a partnership between microfinance and WASH to work, there are 2 factors we need to remember. The fungibility of credit, that may sound a bit strange of a word, which means that if you take a loan, let's say 20,000 taka, and you commit that with 20,000 taka, you are going to set up a latrine, or let's say 30,000 taka. With 30,000 taka, you can actually set up a safely managed sanitation compliant latrine. But there is no guarantee that you are spending that 30,000 taka for setting up the latrine. Fungibility means the money can be used for multiple purposes. There is a tendency of borrowers borrowing for designated purposes, but using for any other reason. It could be for health shock, it could be for paying school fees, many of the time consumables. So that is something we need to keep in mind. Number 2, if we talk about sanitation only, just setting up a latrine is not enough. We expect that that fulfills the condition of safely managed sanitation services. So between basic and safely managed, what we have observed from our program implementation, households have less interest in investing on safely managed sanitation. Because if you look at the features of safely managed sanitation, that's more of a public good. That not only benefits you, that also benefits your neighbor. And you are expecting that households would be making investment from their pocket privately for a public good. And that doesn't necessarily happen. So these 2 things we need to keep in mind. Whether the money which is being disbursed for sanitation purposes are being used for sanitation purposes, number 1. Number 2, even if the money is being used for sanitation purposes, whether they are actually utilized for the safely managed services. So here's the real scenario. Typically, I would have wanted to show only the first scenario, claiming that BRAC has, between October 22 and 24, within that time span, BRAC has disbursed about 34,000 loans on sanitation. The story ends. We could have claimed some sort of achievement. But as the story continues, as we can see, out of nearly 36,000 loans disbursed, only 19,000 plus, they have actually used the money for installing latrine, which is 54%. which means 46% of money has been used for other purposes. Now, if you look for what percentage of them actually use the money for safely managed sanitation in terms of installation, that only 21% of the total disbursement. And across the sector, my understanding tells that this is the scenario. So data can be misleading. So this is some sort of a scenario of caution, let me put it this way. That's the reason why when we are looking into designing instruments, what is critically important, understanding the real life scenario on the ground. So this is an important finding which we decided deliberately to share. So as for a recap, what my colleague Khaled, as he used data from WaterAid and National Bureau of Statistics, it's a clear scenario that public financing for WASH is declining, whereas the demand or need is increasing and the gap is also expanding, the financing requirement versus gap. There is disproportionate increase in out-of-pocket expenditure, and this can be impoverishing because for the low-income households, they're already facing catastrophic health expenditure. Now you're also placing the burden on them. Okay, you are on your own. You actually figure out how you're going to maintain your water and sanitation requirement. And the data is also showing that self-supply at household level, that remains to be the dominant source. I tried to kind of make a claim that microfinance can be a potential source for financing. If you look at the saving itself, 9 million plus, and the amount of borrowing or lending, there's an enormous scope. But it is also important that the need for grant is not completely diminished. If you go to the field, there is an unfortunate scenario, as you will see. There was a seminar that was probably back in 2015-16. We were proudly claiming that we have almost completed our journey to zero. But there is kind of an inverse situation of open defecation coming back. Now, there is again probably a need for some kind of old school WASH intervention, the advocacy and the orientation, community mobilization. Maybe in some places, if we go to the chore areas and haur areas, we may need CLTS again. And for this kind of intervention, some kind of old school WASH program is still required. It's not going to be kind of a blanket coverage, but this is also required. We talk about private sector engagement. It's not here, but the optimum mix is critically important because what is the role of non-commercial partners like NGOs, how we can actually create an enabling environment for them, and how the private sector comes in, because in some of the partnerships, what we have seen that there's a tendency of the private sector to free ride on the community presence of the non-commercial partners or NGOs. We cannot act as agents for private agencies. So it is very, very important that how we actually create the partnership, create an enabling environment, create the demand so that the out-of-pocket expenditure which is already there is matched for right kind of investment and also public financing. And the alternative source for climate resilience, resilient sanitation, innovation piloting, these are needed. Because the climatic context in Bangladesh, that's different. In the coast areas, one kind of climate-induced problems. In the Barind area, there is one kind of problem. In the hill tracts, in the haur areas, in the chore areas, these are all different. So there has to be multiple solutions. So there's critical need for investment in innovation and pilots. So that's what I had to discuss. And on behalf of my colleagues, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Khaled Bhai and Adib Bhai for sharing an insightful keynote presentation. Now I kindly request Chair of the event, Dr. Md Liakath Ali, to come up on the stage with the distinguished panelist, Dr. Tanveer Ahmed, Mr. M Shafiqul Islam, and architect cum planner Salma Shafi, and with the keynote presenter, Mr. Hossain Ishrath Adib, to come up on the stage and have their seats. Thank you, session chair, panelists, and the keynote speaker to have their seats. Now we will start our most exciting sessions, panel discussion session, basically featuring the esteemed speaker and the open discussion also. This panel discussion session will be expertly moderated by Dr. Md Liakath Ali, Director of BRAC, followed by the open dialogue session fostering an exchange of perspective and ideas. So the microphone is now handing over to Dr. Md Liakath Ali. Thank you.
I know after such a beautiful presentation, there are lots of questions in your mind. I will request you to write it down and hold little bit time. So first what we'll do, we'll try to hear some of the thoughts from our esteemed panelists. And then after that, we'll go back to you for question and answer session. So I like to start with Dr. Tanveer Ahmed, Professor of BUET. I think you have already seen the presentations. And how do you feel? Are we on track regarding the SDG achievement by 2030? So if it is not, then what is your advice? How we can make things reverse? So I will put another question, because if you answer two, then I can go to other one also. What are the immediate efforts we are taking to decrease the lackings? So if you can answer as you feel.
Thank you very much. Of course, I think it's evident now that we are definitely not on track on achieving SDG 6.2 targets, which relates to safely managed sanitation. We saw the BBS data. It stands as 44% safely managed sanitation, although the JMP estimates hasn't come in yet, but it will be somewhere near that figure. If we are to achieve safely managed sanitation, 100% coverage at the current rate, it's not possible. We are heading at a rate of 1.14%. It will take, I think, 50 years more. And what we need to do, that has also been highlighted in this conference, is that we need to accelerate our efforts. But the question has also arisen, is that even if we want to accelerate, is that acceleration possible? Now, all we can say right now is that we need to try with, we have to come out with all guns blazing. And we have some strategic directions on how to achieve that, how to accelerate. The UN SDG 6 acceleration framework has basically pointed out 5 different areas, among which innovative technology is an aspect, and also today's discussion on financing. That is also an aspect. So financing is somewhere, it's one of the main pillars where we have to work very fast, very quick. Now, in the initial part of the presentation, we see that there's a huge financing gap, especially to achieve SDG 6.2. Now, in order to reduce this gap, there's a huge requirement to achieve SDG 6.2. But how this financing gap can be minimized? Now, there is, although we know, we got from the presentation that the public finance or the public contribution is decreasing. This is somewhere we need to put our efforts on. Public finance, and we are actually highlighting that in the upcoming sector development plan, which is the next 15 years plan for the wash sector in Bangladesh. We are currently in the stage of formulation. We are putting emphasis on how much the public sector finance has to increase. Rough calculations say that if we are to basically just try to achieve SDG 6.2 in water and sanitation, that wash together, the amount of money that we need for Bangladesh, if we can increase our public spending, total spending by 20%, that means a 20% increase each year, maybe we can achieve that's the money required. But whether or not government has that money, the public sector has that money, and the public private and the multilateral donor agencies, are they able to contribute to that money? That's a different question. But we have some sort of calculation. We know the financing gap. And the last question, if I get some time, is how to decrease the lagging is, of course, in terms of financing, we have to be aggressive. We have to put forward the cause. And then we have to try figure out how to ramp up. But public sector investment will always be a very important contribution. There is also need to change our approach on how we are looking at sanitation. something that you probably heard, which is called the citywide inclusive sanitation approach. The traditional way of thinking about sanitation has changed. We focused mostly on infrastructure so far, but now we have to make our mindset, change our mindset to a situation where we look at sanitation not as infrastructures, but also as services. So well-functioning, sustainable services is absolutely required. And this is, although I'm mentioning it in a very small, in a very small phrase, but it has inner meaning which needs to be explained more. So if we are through this discussion, we get some opportunity, maybe I'll explain some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tanveer. In the presentation, we saw the household level, community level. So now I like to switch little bit beyond community and household. I like to concentrate on public toilet. So I'm coming back to Salma Shafi. So how important is public toilet in city planning? Because you are involved one of the first feasibility study about public toilet, so we like to hear from you. At the same time, we know the city authorities or municipality has a tendency to go for leasing to earn some money. And we also know the operation and maintenance is not possible by taking some tolls from the public. So how do you think we can overcome this situation?
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting point in the discussion of toilets, public toilets. The word was not at all familiar to people in Bangladesh before, I would say, 2000. There were hardly any public toilets. So people traveled from within the city, outside the city, between districts without the facilities of a public toilet. As we became more urban, I think the realization became stronger that we need public toilets. I think in the year 2007 or something, there was a citizens forum in the government, and that's where the question was raised. And Raju offered the Center for Urban Studies, where I'm a researcher, if you could do something about the public toilets of Dhaka city. That is when I started my work, and then it continued for years together. And I ended up surveying and designing hundreds of toilets in Dhaka and other city corporations. But the thing is, what do we think about public toilets? The perception is people will defecate on the streets and it's only the poor people who will do it, and the elite will have their own toilets. Toilets is not a necessity because people do not stay outside. At least the normal middle class, upper class do not stay outside. They always go somewhere where there is toilet facilities. So only the poor and those who work in the open areas who need toilets, and they can use anywhere. So it was a common practice that you use the roadside, the park area, wherever you can relieve yourself. This is not what is a public toilet. In a educated country, in a good city, in a good urban area or a rural area, we do need public toilets. And it's only, I think in the last 10 years, that the idea of public toilets, their management has come into the scenario of both urban and rural planning. Now we think about toilets which will be community toilets, but you must be aware of one thing, that all mosques and religious establishments have their toilets. Women may not be able to use it, there may not be women toilets there, but toilets are there. So that is one thing. The other thing is a good marketplace, a good community center, a good commercial place will have toilets now, because Now people understand they need good toilets to attract people. So there's a rising consciousness about the need of toilets, but still not good enough. I think when we did the first toilets in Dhaka in around 2015, 14-15, with the help of WaterAid, they tried to make them so good looking that people were naturally attracted, and for a minimum service charge, people could use it. I think Raju was one of the main activists in that program. It was like, we have to do it and this has to be the best. So you'll see good toilets in Dhaka. And now other young people have come up who maintain the public toilets. They charge it and it's so well managed that there's a flourishing business of public toilets. But I won't say flourishing because not enough people are encouraged to come and join in these programs because there's not good financing. So financing is the key source to public toilets. If city corporations or municipal bodies have to provide toilets, they have to have the money to maintain them and manage them. And there is always a gap there. If it's given to the private sector will find ways to run these toilets, to raise the finance and manage it. And there are good ideas, like, you can use billboards, you can use CSR funds, you can, if you get an area, the main thing is where to locate, where is the land. And it should be mandatory that the city authority provide the land, or any authority like the mosque authority, the market authority, they must give space for the public toilet. Then it can be provided and run by people who will do it like a business. So public toilet is a business, it's a good business. And people should learn to pay, absolutely. There should be no free service. It is when you offer free service, they are not managed. And people don't understand to respect the need of the use. So these are basic facts that we have to understand if we want to have a good public toilet in our cities, in our towns, and in our rural areas. It's a basic fact. What happened was, in my initial days of work, I tried to look at the public toilets in 5 city corporations. This was a project of LGD. And in the process, I found about 80 or 90 toilets in 5 city corporations: Dhaka, Kumilla, Rangpur, Chittagong, and possibly Kumilla. Other than Dhaka and Chittagong, other cities had very few toilets in very deplorable conditions and very little space compared to the need. And I tried to take all them up and design and give the projects to LGD, if they could undertake the task of rebuilding the toilets and getting them good for operation. But I found in many cases nothing has happened. Even in Dhaka city, in my count, in 2010, there were about, I think, 50 public toilets. Even 50 are not yet ready for use. So it's really a big lack of, commitment of the city authorities to provide public toilets. So shall we stop there? No. I think citizens need to come up. I think local bodies should come up with the demand for public toilets, the space. Nowadays, the city corporations are trying to put the parks and playgrounds in good shape and use, and they're always providing a good public toilet there. So this is a good beginning, but the need is always very little as per the demand. So the whole task of providing public toilets is still, I would say, undermined by the authorities, by the planners, and by the citizens in general, because it is a need which is very strong. Think about women, think about children, think about sick people. They can't go out of the house because there is no public toilet. And if there is a toilet, even in, say, a hospital, a public hospital is in such bad condition, people don't feel like using it. So I think overall there needs to be an awareness throughout the country to make people conscious of the need to provide and use public toilets, good public toilets. And I think all we need to do is just perhaps visit any of our neighboring countries. They run good toilets. In India, there was one NGO called Shulab, which landed with a nationwide sanitation program for public toilets, and they were very successful. And I've often urged my co-workers, juniors, or send them to India to have a look at the Shulab public toilets and then get the idea to implement here. I think those are one of the things that we need to put together in any project, also in any infrastructure project. When you're building a road, a bridge, our expressway, our metro rail, we should go and see how their public toilets are functioning, if they have provided safe, good public toilets there, because they get a lot of earnings, and public toilets is one service that they must provide. And end of the day, it should not be free. If there is someone to maintain it, getting paid from it, people will do it. So I think, and I just want to tell one thing more, that you don't need a lot of space to provide a public toilet. A small space between 300 square feet to 500 square feet is enough to provide usable toilets. And then you can use so many ideas. You can go multi-story, provide commercial spaces, and then tub toilets in 1 or 2 floors. So it's just the idea needs to be put, and the interest to provide public toilets should be there. If there's any other thing that you think I should add, please tell me.
Thank you, Apa. Now I'm going back to Shafiqul Islam. Shafiq Bhai, you are from the government. Huh? Top. You are ex-government official, senior level. So my question to you, what are the alternative financing possibilities you can foresee to minimize the gap today we have seen in the presentation? So if you start with that, maybe I can come later.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you are right that I worked in the government and for water supply for about 5 years. And now I am also associated with the WaterAid as a policy advisor. Let me start with a short story. And there is a consortium of NGOs. They are implementing one project. The name of the project is Right to Grow. This project is working for malnourished children in 40 unions of southern 4 districts. And I was also part of that project. When we tried to make understand the local leaders, especially the Union Parishad members, chairpersons, then they to, I think, read out of the malnourishment, you have to put some budgets for the children and also the pregnant and lactating mothers. They actually are reluctant, and but some of them they tried. After that, advocacy is not enough at the time. Then we sit with them, how it could be happen. Ultimately, from that project, we developed an app that is we call budget monitoring expenditure tracking app. Through that app, they are preparing the digital budget. And we know that we all of, I think some of people know that as for the budget rules of the Union Parishad, they are preparing budget. In that rule, there is a format. That format is only, I think, some blank. Whatever you want, you can put. That's why there is no any clear guidelines for the union parishods. Then you have to put this amount for this purpose, this amount for that purpose. Then we try to guide them, and we make them understand that if we put money for nutrition and wash, then I think this problem could be overcome. Ultimately, when they started this work in that period, that is baseline, we did a baseline survey. As the baseline data showed that only 1.5% of their budget they are put it only for the wash. Nutrition was totally absent at that time. After 1 year, it is gradually increased, and in 2025, that is they increased the budget for nutrition wash about 18% of their total budget, and out of 18%, 12% for wash. That's why this is, I think, the vital area where we can put our, thinking that if all the local government institutions of the country, municipality, union parishad, city corporations, if they are putting their, money in that way, I think then our target to achieve the SDGs could be, achieved. And that's why what we have learned that first we need to, proper advocacy. Then we have to work with their own system, that is in their budget they have to put the money, and according to the budget they have to implement that money also for wash. And I have a crazy idea also because if we are going for implement the latrine, and it should be the safely managed. If it will be the safely managed, then automatically the greenhouse gas could be captured. If we could capture the greenhouse gas, then we can go for the carbon credits. Is it possible or not? That's why we need to think about it. And if the household owner will get some benefit, because if it will be included in the carbon credit program, automatically we'll get some money from that program, and ultimately we can give some of the portions this from the carbon credit to the household owner. Then this way, I think that person could be, motivated. He will get the benefit and incentive. That way, I think we can fulfill our targets. I think before the 2030 also, and we need to think about it. And because there is no any guidelines, there is no any policies about it for, putting the simply managed toilets for carbon credit. That's why we need to work on that. Okay, up to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Shafiq Bhai. The problem is when you discuss fecal sludge and human waste, it produces methane and nitrous oxide. So it's not carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide coming from other sources. So yeah, carbon dioxide can be converted equivalent to carbon dioxide. Methane can be converted. So that is one of possibility you mentioned. We can explore that. When we discuss or advocate with government, we see a kind of happiness from the government side, because our access is 98%. We are open defecation zero. So why should we invest in water and sanitation? So how do you think, what should be our approach to convince government to allocate more resources to safely manage sanitation?
Actually, it is very difficult to increase the government allocation for this sector because there are many sectors, and government is, of course, there is a political government, and they have some, a political agenda also. And that's why I think many of the NGOs, they already started that wash should be the one of the important agenda that should be included in their election manifesto. And from that point, we have to work with the political parties also. In that case, then when they will become in power, then it could be very easier for us to increase the budget for wash. This is number one. The number two also that we need to, I think, sit with the policymakers. Not only, I think, before the budget time, but also frequently we have to sit with them. And we need to convince them that if we put money for wash purpose, the benefit will become very higher. Then they will become, I think, they may understand and they may convinced also. And nowadays, actually, there is we are actually dream for project. And each and everybody is interested, especially the government sector, interested about the projects. But we should get rid of the projects also. This project culture is not a very good culture. And that's why we need to distribute the government revenue money to the district and upazila level also. Directly, this money will go there, exchequer, they will use this money. And local government, I think, institutions, they have to make their plan. And to fulfill the, I think, SDGs target, they have to plan according to that, and on the basis of the plan, they have to get the money and they will implement it. And third one is, actually we need to, I think, convince the people also, individual people also, household people also. That's why, you know that as per our wash accounts, each and household, they are spending about 11,000 taka for wash. That's already they are spending. That's why if they will go for, I think, if we make them convince that you need put more money for one time, then you will get, I think, benefit, and ultimately you will not spend huge amount of money each and every year. That's why we need also to start advocacy with the individual people also and local government institutions. Then it will become very easier to, I think, achieve the target.
Thank you, Shafiq bhai. Quickly, another round. I'll coming back to Dr. Tanveer Ahmed. So, you are a academic person. So, what role can research and academia can play in shaping policies that supports climate adaptive solution and financing?
Thank you very much. Of course, I'll do a little bit of self-criticism here. I think we as faculty members, especially what I find in Bangladesh, we kind of live in a very siloed environment. Most of us, I would say. And especially whatever we are doing research, or we do not feel the urge to, disseminate and make it appear to a wider audience. Now, these type of conferences are useful, but on the other hand, I see the implementing partners like NGOs, INGOs working, they're very receptive to the academicians in this country, and that's a wonderful thing to see. But it's not vice versa. I'm doing self-criticism here. So now, having said that, this is a change of mindset that we need to have among our faculty members, so that we keep track of what is happening around us, what sort of new things are being tried and tested elsewhere, keep log of those things, and eventually we try to do our self-assessment and then reorient, especially our academic curriculum, university syllabus, and etc., to bring some of these things in our own WASH or engineering or public health programs, and try to enrich our curriculum so that the new graduates are well equipped with or very, very much informed with this. So a reorientation of academic curriculum is absolutely necessary. Our curriculum is very backward. I wouldn't say the curriculum is very backwards in terms of technical content, but it is very backward in terms of very relevant up-to-date information on the stuff that is very much required, especially in climate resilient and climate resilient technologies, and also very specifically climate resilient sanitation. This is very less studied internationally as well, and what I see is the topics and the literature is constantly evolving. Every new day, new papers are coming out, new information is available, but we faculty members have to be very much on top of things and try to incorporate those in the curriculum as well. Now, if you look at the latest GLASS report, I always look at the pages where they say where is the critical human resource capacity gap. And you'll find that in the wash sector, there is only like 14% human resources available which can meet the needs of the SDG. For the water supply, there's a little bit, but for sanitation, it's a huge gap. Only like 10 to 12% human resource that is required for the future, we currently have. Now, this brings an additional requirement or burden for us as faculty members or members of technical institutions. We have to build that capacity. We have to train more and more people. That means that we have to bring more WASH graduates out in the open. Because the need for the future, when all these new investments are going to come in, and we have a lot of sanitation technologies being operated all over, the need for WASH graduates is going to be high. And all of I'm assuming that all of these WASH technologies, they have to have the climate resilient component inserted in it. So studying all of this, keeping climate resilience in mind, is very important. How to do climate risk assessment, how to incorporate climate resilience in your technology, how to incorporate climate resilience in your sanitation services. These are the topics of the future. And we have to study all of these, bring all of this into curriculum. And there is actually a big gap between the curriculum and the real world implementation. Everybody knows that. Whatever we study in the university, we go to the practical field, we see something different. Whatever we studied there, it's there, but whatever we now have to do, we have to learn by doing. Maybe this part can be bridged, and maybe this gap can be minimized. We are very smart people, so we learn very quickly. But the academic institutions can do a little bit more so that this gap is minimized, because we don't have that time. We have to be at we have to be immediately be able to serve the community after graduating. So our academic curriculum has to be up to the point at that level, and that in that respect, we as academicians, we have a lot of things to do. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Salma Appa, you mentioned in your first part, the public toilet is a business, private sector business, could be, which is fine. We are very much enthusiastic about it. But when you say it's a private sector business, there are certain things comes automatically. Say, for example, for public toilet, you need washer connection. So you need electricity connection. When you say it's a business, the washer bill automatically goes to social to commercial. It's very, very high. And when it's electricity commercial bill, so managing public toilet in cities is not possible by fulfilling the criteria of commercial billing of Dhaka, Wasa and electricity. So do you think, or do you have any thought how we can minimize these sort of problems? There are other challenges too, but I will limit only these two.
Thank you. I think I meant that it is the operational part which will be a private sector business. But usually in any public toilet, the water service and the electricity is provided, I think, at a lesser charge. Initially, when the city corporations run the public toilets, they were free. But those who are running it privately nowadays, they have to pay some service charges, and I think it's a deduced charge. they have some kind of an agreement with the agencies, and then they get a pay reduced charge. But without, charging people, it cannot be managed. That has been proved, I think, by leaving the public toilet service to the city corporation, city authorities. And now that it has started in Dhaka and some in Chittagong, and they are running better, so I think that is the only way to keep public toilets running. But if it's in a mosque, if it is in a commercial building, I think those, the people who run the mosque or the market or the restaurant, they look after the upkeep. So that is there because it is part of their service. But you have not asked, but I think I should add that in our country, when we do urban planners and architects work with cities and mainly with master plans or infrastructure plans, they never think about providing space for public toilet. It's not in the mindset. Like if you look at the older parks, there were never any public toilets. It's only later on they were added. So it should be part of the planning that you provide space for public toilets. And I think, as Dr. Tanveer was mentioning, it should be part of the curricula because students must learn as students what the people need and what are the demands of the people. Only then, if it's in the mindset, they can provide these in their work when they are out of their academic life. I never found any master plan earlier, before 2020 say, that where the terms of reference read out clearly that there should be space for public toilets and what kind of toilets it should be. Actually, the issue of sanitation was never addressed. So it is how we look at the need of people. If those who are in the business of running the country, the agency, if they do not think about services to people, particularly sanitation, it doesn't happen. So in Bangladesh, we have to go a long way. I mean, the SDG goal is very near, but we still have so much to do. Thank you.
Thank you. It's time for the floor. So I know there are a lot of questions, so please raise your hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Melina. Actually, basically, I'm from the Nepal, but I'm working in Bangladesh since 2024. That's why also I want to highlight something in here. We are talking about the financing to build the toilet, to build the new, new technology to add up in here. Within a few months, within a few years, within a few months, we can say, we can build the public toilets, we can build the toilets. Infrastructure is not the problem in here. And if we are ready, then also from the household level, we have a lots of technology, like innovative, some our indigenous technology also, we can make a toilet, I feel like that infrastructure will not be a problem in here. But one major thing which I experienced from the overall experience from the South Asia, especially from India, Nepal, and the Bangladesh, I feel like that the people mindset, people are not willingness to use the public toilet. They are prefer to go for the open defecation. We can see easily in the Dhaka road also, people are doing that, right? For that, I just want to highlight that how we can, as a WAS professionals, as a WAS advisor person or academic person, how we can address, how we can change their behavior, mindset, how we can change that. That cannot be happen within a night, within a single night, within a year. It take the time. How we can address that, I just want to know about that from our expert and from our floor also, who can give the answer.
Okay, I will take 2-3 questions at a time, and then I'll come back to the panel. Dibalokda.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Dibalok. I work for DSK. I have 2-3 comments to make, as I was not present from the beginning, but what I have just heard. First of all, one of the problem in relation to financing in terms of infrastructure, that roadside urination is a big problem in Bangladesh, and there is so far no solution to that. That is one thing that we have to address in future. Number two, sanitation is not a lucrative business. And that's why there must be government investments. That needs to be taken into view from a public health point of view as well as environment point of view. So financing must come from the government. Whether we are through with the market-driven approach or not, but to save our people, we need to finance by the government because private sector is not coming. Lastly, public toilet in Dhaka, let's say 96, as far as I remember. And all of them, apart from toilets in CNG station or petrol stations, all of them were constructed by the government and then were leased. So, and in those public toilets, the water supply, as you are working with Dhaka Wasa, so you know better than me, water supply is not free. And it is on commercial rates. We run almost 20 public toilets in this country, and we know. Apart from that, city corporation, like say Chittagong City Corporation, they have imposed another lease fee on the public toilets that we run in Chittagong City, not considering that it is helping the public health as well as environment issue in the cities. So that is the situation. But the religious institutions like mosques and temples and churches, they are receiving free water service from Dhaka Wasa as far as I know. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'd like to add a little bit with your point, then I'll ask my question. Let's talk about the public urination part. So to go to my in-laws' place, I have to cross Tikatuli. And over there, I see people like urinating beside the road. But mind the fact that there are 2 public toilets available there, but you have to pay money to use them. So who is urinating in the public over there? The people, the low-income people are doing it. So the fact is that even if there is availability of public toilet, people do not have the money to use it. So what is their resource? Urinating in the public. So ma'am, that is where some part of your question is going, like why are people urinating in the public? So my question to you is, like it's not the fact that we do not have public toilets. We have public toilets. But when we say that people have to pay for the services, we are actually excluding people who are low income. They do not have the money to use the washroom. So where does this money will come?
Okay, thank you. So now we have 3 questions. So I will ask Appa and Tanveer bhai to address.
It's a difficult situation, yes. I think other than beggars, the workers, they do earn money. The everyday workers, the laborers, who are also we consider poor. It's just that, it's their mindset, they will not pay 5 taka. There could be subsidy for them. They will not even pay 5 taka to use a public toilet. They just won't. I think other than the beggars, usually people have money to move in the city, they earn something and they should be able to pay. On the other hand, there is no restriction, no fine, and also no awareness that you just can't do this in public. What you can do, what you can't do. So I think there should be a big campaign for changing the mindset of people, not to use public spaces. And there are always spaces like the mosques, they are free. Anybody can use a toilet in a mosque or in a marketplace like what we call a grocery market. But the thing is, people are just not used to paying, and the rates vary. From a minimum, there are higher rates when it's in a better place. So I think it's just the norm of, not paying and paying. It has become a culture that we do not respect our public spaces. So there should be a big drive to raise consciousness of people. What was the other question? Well, I think if you speak about Bangladesh, we all know that the migrants who are the newcomers to the city, they do not know about how they should behave in a city area. So overall, there's a lack of consciousness, and that is the answer of what you are questioning. I think that should do.
I don't have anything specific to add, but Divalokda, you were talking about sanitation financing. I just want to concur that the way we look at water supply and the way we look at sanitation has to be fundamentally different. Sanitation is a public good and also an environmental service. And now adding to that, the environmental service part has the component of climate change, potential climate change mitigation option, and also partly adaptation. Now coming back to, since we are talking about financing for climate resilient sanitation, I think I should add a few notes here. It was evident from this morning's plenary from Dr. Juliet Willets is that we are still a long way behind in assessing what the GHG emission potential for sanitation technologies are. And we are still in the process. There is a potential, but we do not have now currently the up-to-date information of the potential methane and nitrous oxide, totally greenhouse gas emissions potential from these sanitation technologies, which we can reliably use to derive what you call carbon credits and other things. We are not at that stage yet. We are leveraging for adaptation funds, but adaptation funds are gradually decreasing. So now globally there is a shift towards accessing other type of funds. One of the potential option is the Green Climate Fund, GCF, which we all know. And the thing is that in order to access GCF funds, we really have to make the case for it. In order to make the case for it, the GCF recently published what is called the Annex 3, which was also discussed by Juliet. And you can, there is also a separate session on this, I see somebody is organizing. Now, there are added complexities here. We have this annex, which basically tells us how to construct or how to devise a project for which we can place it in front of GCF to get additional funds. Now, in Bangladesh, I know, and in also LMICs, we have serious lack of capacity on how to formulate this kind of project, which we can make it bankable or for GCF. And this is there is a huge potential for increasing capacity in this region, and we have to increase our capacity to make to write some of these proposals for GCF and to make our case solid so that we can access those type of funds. That sooner we do it, the better position we will be, because other countries will also be competing, and Bangladesh, we have to develop this capacity very soon, and this is where we need to focus right now. Public funds will always be a big source, but in addition to that, as we know that there are dwindling funding sources, but we need the money for climate resilience, we need to tap into these resources, GCF, GEF, and carbon credits, green bonds, and other things. These are the alternative sources of financing, but we have to make the sanitation technologies, we have to rebrand our sanitation technologies in such a way that it becomes suitable for seeking this type of financing. I recently came to know that Fiji Islands, you know that where Fiji Islands is. Fiji Islands has accessed a large amount of GCF fund to do what? to construct sanitation sewer networks and upgradation of the sewage treatment plants. If they can do it, it makes perfect sense, because this is they branded or they kind of packaged this project as a climate resilient technology, and that's why they could access the GCF fund. If they can do it, that is also possible elsewhere. We just have to increase the capacity and unlock these opportunities to access these type of funds. And we are just stepping into the area. Climate resilient sanitation technology is something that we have to work on vigorously. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 5 minutes more. So maybe I can take one question. So after that, sorry, we'll talk bilaterally.
Thank you very much, panel members, for your valuable speech. I'm just interested to know more about the public toilet that BRAC has constructed. I think the 2-storied public toilet that is a really interesting in terms of flooding or climate resilient support to the community. So I just wanted to know that whether you have done any advocacy with government to model this in any other area or to replicate this to any other area. So do you have that advocacy component in your program?
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Jointly we are working on it, not only BRAC. So Shafiq bhai, you mentioned about the joint effort.
Just I want to one information about the water tariff for public toilet in Dhaka city. Dhaka was already approved for those toilets who are running by the WaterAid. They are taking the tariff as a domestic rate. Second one is that we are actually from WaterAid, we propose to the government, that is local government division, to prepare a national public toilet policy. Already we draft, I think our professor was one of the important member of that working committee, and we finalized the draft and we have submitted to the government, and hope that it will be approved by the cabinet division, I think, as soon as possible. And in that public toilet policy, actually we are giving more, I think, importance that the way we achieved the 100% sanitation, that was the social mobilization actually. That was a social movement. And for public toilet, from each and every hard bazaar to, I think, big town, we are going to establish a public toilet, and that should be run by the local government institutions with a committee, not going by lease. And it should be a public movement. I think it's a social movement. Through that movement, we will achieve the public toilet within very short period throughout the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I know there are some questions, Aslam bhai, so bilaterally we can discuss. So, if you follow the presentation, you see there are some allocation. We are asking more allocation from the government. If you saw the line below, we are not able to utilize even the less allocation. So what actually it means? It means we need more capacity to implement. So this is number one. We need financing. At the same time, we need more capacity to utilize our money, whatever allocated. So this is one thing. And we realize by 2030, it is very difficult to achieve safely managed sanitation. We have to realize that. We have to think about it. And for adaptive sanitation, which is very easy, and there are not that much work, but we can manage it. But when it comes to mitigation, you know, sanitation produces methane and also nitrous oxide. So we need data, we need calculation, how much we have done in the urban context, how much we have in the rural context. If you have that kind of data, very recently, GCF has, Dr. Tanveer was mentioned, approved a guideline. Earlier it was only water, but now we can apply for sanitation too. So if you can tap more resources, not only from government and private, but other sources of funding available, that could be a good achievement. So I like to thank the panel presenter, the keynote presenter, 3 of them. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. I like to thank the esteemed panelists I have here today. And I also thank those who are attending this session very patiently and participate very collectively. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. We like to conclude this session here. Thank you.
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us. It was indeed an insightful consultation. And, due to time limitation, we are closing the session. But however, we can interact with our panelists and the other keynote speaker during the next serve in the outside of the room. Thank you.